with Scotty and Sergio. Sergio, a couple days away, back to Chile, my man.
Hey, buddy. Hey. Yeah, I'm super pumped. It's gonna be fun to be back home and doing podcasts from South America.
Oh yeah, South America, Australia combination. Beautiful. We got lots to talk about today on this quick pod. We're going to run through quickly the war of words between Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, and KD, LeBron, Harden, all these big names. Talk about some of the big games from Thursday, including the Lakers beating the Bucks. Then a few Friday games as well, where we had the Cavs beat the Nets again, the Sixers beat the Celtics again. We'll talk about Utah's impressive run at the moment. The Bulls, is there a trade lined up somewhere there for them? And we'll have a chat about a cheeky bet I made a couple of days ago. I usually don't bet very often. I don't win even less often than that, but had a cheeky win, which we'll talk about later. But Serge, you've been keeping up to date with this, but there's a little bit of war of words happening at the moment with Shaquille O'Neal and Shaq and KD, LeBron, James Harden. They're not appreciating it.
Yeah, and it's funny to talk about this because normally I'll side with those guys. I always respect the OG, the old school players that are tough on players sometimes. But in this case, I'm not on board. I didn't like the interview, the way he formatted the question, because this was right after the Jazz game, and I'm dropping the name. What's his name?
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, so he had a great game, right? Great game, and they got a win. And Shaq pretty much just asked him. He's like, I love your game, brother. I love your game, but I just don't think you have what it takes to get to the next level. It's a harsh comment. I mean, these guys,
100%.
These guys that their life has been basketball since age 3. You know what I mean? And just to throw that out there, he said it flat like that. And Donovan Mitchell's response was, he looked at him. He's like, all right, that was it.
Shaq's probably the most dominant basketball player physically ever. But Shaq, you needed to also have a second sidekick like Kobe to win one. Dwayne Wade was the leader of that team the second time you won in Miami. So it's not like Donovan Mitchell hasn't got a superstar next to him like that. Shaq couldn't win when he had Penny back in the day as well. So he had to leave. So it's harsh words from the big man.
Harsh words, especially after, Donovan Mitchell, he's proved himself in the last 2 years in the playoffs, especially last year. So it's arguable that it's a ridiculous comment. But what was great about it, that, when it's posted on Twitter, Instagram, not only did LeBron James jump in on it, I think KD jumped in on it first, and then LeBron James. And I'm going to read you their quotes so you can actually verbatim what they said. So Durant comes in and says, "Them old heads need to go enjoy retirement. These boys have coaches they work with every day, LOL." So he kind of ended it with a little bit of light with the LOL. But what he's saying is serious. I mean, you can't knock Donovan Mitchell. The guy's proved himself, and he's getting better and better every day. I'm like, to say that comment so out of line. And then LeBron popped in about an hour later and says, "There's a difference between constructive criticism and soft hating, though. I've seen it both ways come my way, mostly the hate. You can hear it in their delivery." And I've got to agree with him. There was
100%.
it was unwarranted what Shaq said to him. And he was trying to play this kind of like a negging game. He loves this guy and he wants him to get to the next level. But I think it was just poorly worded. And they, together with Charles Barkley, they need to do a better job of being kind of more present. This is an era. Things are different now. You talk to people in different manners. You can't just go out and say that.
But saying that to Donovan Mitchell, who's one of the best young stars we have coming up in the league, he plays for a small market team. We all know this. Generally, it's the big market teams that win. They attract the best players. Utah's not going to attract a James Harden or I don't know. There's a bunch of players you could think that are going to come there and help you win the championship. KD. That's not how you have to do. You have to grow it internally. So you can't just say, sorry, you're not going to win the way you play and with that team. And Chuck, I love Chuck. He's hilarious. He's a dumb shit a lot of the time. Some of the shit that he says, especially when he makes predictions, like last year he said Portland were going to win it. It's just think before you talk sometimes. Everything you say is such a crazy take. If it hits, you look like a genius, but it's never going to hit. So
yeah,
these guys do need to calm down a little bit.
I think they've been given a bit too much liberty. I'm they're funny, and I do enjoy that show. But come on, Chuck, last time he was talking about that players should get vaccines first because they pay more taxes. Come on, man. What are you talking about here?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm sure we'll keep hearing more about that. This seems to never end. There's always the war of words. We'll get on to Thursday's game. We had some crackers of games, Serge. We had the Lakers travel to Milwaukee to play the Bucks. The Lakers got away with the win. They won 113 to 106. LeBron had a good game with 34 points and 8 rebounds, and the Freak had 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 assists. You
Yeah,
were talking about Stephen A before, weren't we?
yeah,
Stephen A come out and said,
I feel this was a statement game, you know, and LeBron's really good at showing up for statement games. The guy who's had the MVP the last 2 years, which, you know, whatever. A lot of people arguably think that LeBron should have had it one of those 2 years. And you know, it's a good argument. And so basically after the game, LeBron got asked about what the game meant for him, and also they kind of noted his record against the Milwaukee Bucks, which is very positive. Um, and personally against Giannis. So they kind of were trying to like put the one-on-one conversation on the table. And LeBron was he kind of skipped around the question and he said, "Look, you guys should know that I'm a team guy, team first. Like I don't care about personal accolades." And okay, well, he said what he's supposed to say, I guess, or what like you know like most guys say. And Stephen A just ripped into him. He was like, he lied to you on national television. He's lying. If you think for a second that LeBron doesn't show up big time when he's playing Giannis, who people say is the best guy in the league, you're joking. Like you're kidding yourself. He showed up even more LeBronish because of that. And I agree with him.
well, saying that, like you're saying, LeBron, he put on a statement, 34 points, 8 rebounds. The Freak had a good game, but in their last 9 games, the Bucks have lost to the Lakers, the Nets, and the Jazz. They've beat Detroit 3 times, the Bulls, the Mavs, who are missing a ton of players, and Cleveland. So you're saying LeBron's out there getting these statement wins, and the Greek Freak kind of doing the opposite. You need to win some of these games against these really tough teams, West, East, Eastern Conference, no matter where they're from, because they put you in good stead heading later into the season, into the playoffs, to know that you can beat the big teams. Like it brings your team together, especially a team that Drew Holiday's new in that team. Giannis obviously 2 MVPs in a row, but these are the games that the Bucks need to be winning at home as well. The game against the Mavs, they scraped through in that game as well. So they're struggling against the better teams, but they're absolutely destroying the shittier teams.
Yeah, and the thing with Milwaukee is it's a big point of concern because you have to be building that confidence going in, as you said, to the postseason. You want to have those wins against those top teams that you're going to run into in the conference finals, semifinals, and perhaps in the finals. So yeah, Milwaukee needs to prove that their system and their team, their new look Milwaukee Bucks is cohesive unit that's winning games and not only beating and it's not even only about. I remember Scottie Pippen saying this years ago. It's like you have to beat all the teams you're supposed to beat, and then you better really beat the teams that you're going to run into at the end of the year.
100%. Otherwise, I think that they know they can beat you once you get to the playoffs, especially if you're versing another rival in the Eastern Conference who there's a good chance you're going to meet in the second round of the Eastern Conference Finals. So, yeah, we'll see what happens to the Bucks. They need to start winning some of those games. Also on Thursday, we had the Knicks went to Golden State. They beat him by 15 points in this one. We were talking before, Kelly Oubre got a tech for blowing a kiss after shooting a 3-pointer. But the best thing I ever heard, Draymond Green got ejected for yelling at a teammate.
Yeah, wow. And this is the kind of stuff we were talking about. These calls should be rescinded. How are you going to kick some guy out for telling his teammate to play better offense? Or, I think he was yelling at Wiseman. And he yells at Wiseman all day.
He yells at Wiseman a lot. But good on him. That's like, teach the rookie now, man, so he doesn't make these mistakes in year 2.
Yeah, I'm all about it. They should. I wish they could rescind those kind of technicals. After halftime, the refs came out and they told Steve Kerr that they openly had made a mistake. So at that point, I think, if they all agree on that, they should be able to switch things around because Draymond Green, as we all know, is the motor to Golden State.
Yeah, he's also got himself a reputation over the last half a decade, if not more, for being a little bit crass with the officials. And I think the officials are waiting for him to do something now, and they're just waiting to kick him out of the game. And the guy's yelling at his teammate. Who cares? Who cares what he says to his teammate? It's not a technical. He's not yelling at a guy on the other team. He's not abusing someone. And it's not an official. Just let the game play on. I
And we
hate when
need
the
some of
refs
that in
get
the
too
NBA. We
involved.
need some spice. We can't, it can't be all like
100%.
so soft as, we need those people that are aggressive, and we need that energy, and it's good for the game. So I think they're going to have to find a way to, maybe with advanced analytics, they can actually measure, like when people get text, like how much do they actually speak, and if they can kind of like start to take statistics on it, they'll start changing and like seeing like what referee is giving out technicals too often, and how many times does he give tech to the same player. Because we see it with Boogie Cousins, as you were talking as well. Like Boogie Cousins gets, he walks into a game and he's almost ejected.
Yeah, 100%. You might as well walk in, just walk out, Boogie. It's a revolving door. Just yell something as you get through and just keep turning around. Also on Thursday, we had the Pelicans, who had 2 games in Utah against the Jazz. They lost again, 118 to 129. Zion had another good game with 27 points, only 14 field goals. He hit 9 of them. Donovan Mitchell, 36 points and 7 rebounds. And that is 7 wins in a row now for the Jazz. And that brings them up to 3rd in the West. The Jazz are flying.
The Jazz, and that could honestly be the position they occupy at the end of the year. I feel, if they keep it all together and they keep playing at this level, they could be 3rd.
I think Quinn Snyder's just done such an amazing job over the last couple of years of building a team. They're good defensively. They shoot more 3-pointers than anyone in the league. But you can do that when you have Bojan on your team. Royce O'Neal's playing really well. Jordan Clarkson off the bench. He's got to be pretty close to the 6th man this year. I think he's averaging just under 20 points a game coming off the bench, shooting 45 from 3. Like, he's just a gun. We were talking about Vinnie Johnson in the old school days. He used to hate it because he used to always have pick a bone with your balls. But they used to call him the microwave because come on for 20, 25 minutes, and if you're that good a shooter, just come in and light the other team's bench up.
Yeah, he was fun to watch, actually. He'd come off the bench. And also, I think they called him microwave because he's kind of stocky. So he's like a big unit as well. But he'd come and he was quick and he just scored points like in a flurry.
We'll move on to Friday's games. We had a big slate of games on Friday. Just towards the end, guys, Friday is where I laid my bet. I'll tell you guys about that in a few minutes, but we'll run through all the scores. We had the Rockets took on the Pistons in Detroit. They got out of there with a 1-point win, 103 to 102. The Magic went to Indiana. That one went to overtime, and the Pacers won by 2, 120 to 118, close game. The Celtics, they played their second game in 3 days against Philadelphia in Philadelphia. Jaylen Brown put on a show with 42 points and 9 rebounds. But Joel Embiid again surged, 38 points and 11 rebounds. He's dominating. And this series at the moment is great. Once Tatum gets back, this is going to be a hell of a series if they meet sometimes in the playoff.
I feel, with this whole COVID situation with them playing teams like 2 games in a row and stuff, it reminds me a little bit of baseball, and you kind of get a feel for like who's actually superior. It's not like a one-off game, and obviously the Celtics without Tatum, it's a different ball game. But I love the way Embiid's playing. He's just actually flexing.
Oh, no one can stop him. No one can stay with him in the interior. No one's big enough.
Yeah, he's got that presence that, like, arguably he's like a Shaq type presence.
100%. That's what Shaq wants him to stay in the paint and just bully people all day. The Nets, they were in Cleveland for another night, second game in 3 days. Again, they fell to the Cavs. This one did not go into double overtime. They won 125 to 113. The Cavs did. Obviously, no KD in this game. And I think they need KD in his team to win games. 2 guards running around who want the ball. It's a little bit hard because Harden didn't seem to have his best game. Didn't take a lot of shots either.
Yeah, he kind of deferred to Kyrie, and there's gonna be a few games where they're kind of figuring it out. And I think Harden's also trying to not be a ball hog around Kyrie. I think, as we spoke about, the relationship that he has with Durant is more organic, so there's not really that tug of war of like who's gonna take more shots or who's gonna control the ball more. The ball's in Harden's hand, and Durant's fine with that.
Yeah.
But with Kyrie, you have 2 players that are more ball dominant. But people are always like setting alarms off for these games, and it's going to take time. This is just a sample of what it is, and I'm sure they're going to figure it out.
Yeah, they've come up against a pretty confident Cleveland Cavaliers team who've been playing really well recently, and Colin Sexton's obviously leading them, and getting a lot of really good stuff out of Andre Drummond and Larry Nance Jr., back where his dad spent a lot of his career playing really well. Where the Bulls beat the Hornets. I wanted to have a chat about this one. So the Bulls went into Charlotte. They won by 13. Few articles coming out, Serge. What the Bulls do? Is there a trade there maybe with Levine, or Lauri Markkanen's the last year of his rookie contract, so maybe they're hoping to get something back for him. But as a Bulls fan, what do you think? Do they just let it go and see if they can make the play-in or the playoffs this year?
I really have faith that Chicago is going to pull it together. They've looked so good over the last 5-6 games. And we had a few tough losses, like the Golden State one a couple weeks ago. Chicago's record could be much better. They need to learn how to close. But with that said, they've been closing a lot better lately. Levine's a player that I'd love to see the Bulls keep around and, really make him like the base of their franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Markkanen it's yet to be seen if he can come through. He still has, I'm going to give him, I think this, why the Bulls didn't offer him an extension is because they're just like us. We like the guy. We think he has potential, but is he going to come through? And they're definitely, they might have to let him go,
Yeah, it's a bit. He's been a little bit inconsistent, but man, you watch probably more Bulls games than I did. When he's on, he's got a great shooting touch. He's pretty athletic as well, coming off that wing, like faking a shot and getting to the rim, and he makes some good plays defensively every now and then. Talking about the Bulls, though, mate, I've been so impressed. My pick for most improved this year, Kobe White. Kobe White seems to get better and better every game. He's got like averaging 7 or 8 assists a game, and he's starting to score a bit more efficient.
So good. And his stroke, his 3-point shot is it's there. That guy's going to be a weapon because you don't get these, guys like him, 6'6", 6'7", point guards. They don't grow on trees. You don't get them that often. That's why, LaMelo Ball is such a special player as well. I'm really excited about this with the future. We'll see if we can keep Levine. I don't like that Levine last year was talking about loving to play with LeBron. I can already see him getting traded to the Lakers. Oh, that would scare me too.
No, hopefully that does not happen. We went through quickly. The Rockets beat the Pistons 103-102. In that game, I just want to say Boogie Cousins started because Christian Wood, which I mentioned in the last podcast, is out with a rolled ankle. Boogie finished the game with 5 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 of 16 shooting. Pretty lucky to get away with a win when your starting center shoots. What's the percentage? What's that? Is that 8?
That's like 12 or 13%.
Yep. Yeah. They still beat that. To be honest, that's how bad the Pistons are. They couldn't get the win with a pretty terrible shooting night from Boogie Cousins. Yeah. I don't think the Houston Rockets at all shot the ball well either.
No, not at all. Detroit's, in free fall. They just need to figure out what they're going to do with their players. If they're going to rebuild, get rid of those 2 pieces that they have that are still solid players and might work as a rotation players on a championship aspiring team. But Houston, you never know. Houston could pull it together. You have to see that they just have a bunch of new pieces and they might gel, they might not, but they have a lot of talent.
Yeah, they're actually taking on my Mavericks today. Dallas are playing a back-to-back tonight, so they're going to Houston to play, but they're without Wood. Oladipo's not going to be playing either. Dante Exum's out, Daniel House. So they've got a pretty solid squad. If DeMarcus Cousins can come back all right, I'd like to see Houston go all right this season, but I have a feeling towards the end of the season they're going to be I think Oladipo's going to get traded. Wow. He's already come out. I don't think he wants to be there. So that'll be interesting to see how that progresses. We also had on Friday, the Hawks went to Minnesota, who are starting to really get pumped now. They lost by 18 points, 116-98. The Mavericks beat the Spurs 122-117 with another near triple-double from Luka Doncic. Denver went to Phoenix. They got out of there with a 4-point win in overtime. Another great game from Jokic, had a near triple-double. The Thunder went to LA and got smoked by the Clippers 120-106. And the Kings got a win on the Knicks at home. So the Knicks were on a nice little run there. We'll talk about before. It's pretty weird seeing the scores at the moment. So the scores are so up and down most of the time. It's pretty hard to pick.
Yeah, I think the teams are actually really missing the fans. It's a hard game. And the fans are the ones that pull you through. When the other team's going on a run, the fans get behind you, and they're like the pressing for defense, and that gets you going. But you see it, the lead changes are insane. How many times have like teams like even the Lakers losing a 19-point lead against Golden
Yeah.
State? That's stuff that you don't see, especially with grade A teams,
Yeah, it's been a crazy start of the season. Obviously, it's pretty hard to pick games. That's my awesome segue into yesterday. I played a multi for people who don't know, a multi bet where I had 8 legs. I picked 8 games that I thought I had a chance of getting right. I picked Chicago to beat Charlotte, tick. Houston to beat Detroit, tick. Indiana to beat Orlando, tick in overtime. Cleveland to beat Brooklyn, tick. Philadelphia to beat Boston, tick. Atlanta to beat Minnesota, tick. Dallas to beat San Antonio, tick. And the last game I was waiting for, which was about a 20-point blowout the whole game, was the Clippers, who beat the Thunder. I put $2.50 on that game, Serge. The odds were 97.63. I won myself a cool $244.
And as you guys know, on this show, we're optimists, and you killed it. But just so you guys know how much he killed it, if Scotty would have put $100 down, that would have been $10,000.
Yeah, I don't like it when you say it like that, because then I'm sitting here going, "Oh, I could have been up $9,900."
Or you could have been down $100, brother. But you
exactly.
only gambled $250.
Exactly. If I bet 100, I wouldn't have won.
Because absolutely no one was picking the Cavs over the Nets for the second night in a row.
No, once I saw KD was out, and I was like, I don't know, the Nets, they're going to figure it out. We all know they're going to figure it out, but I don't know, you don't want to play in Cleveland twice. At the same time, we're seeing all these back-to-back games where a team's going in. If there's ever been better scouting, you lose to a team one night, the next day you have the day off, and you go, okay, what do we got to do to beat this team? And obviously, no defense for the Nets. The Cavs just ran points over them 2 games in a row.
I'm telling you, like, people have they really haven't grasped how different the league is and how the regular season is going to be with these back-to-back games. It changes everything. As you said, you see all your errors from the night before and you adjust to the next day. So, it's got that playoff vibe where, play teams like tend to like go 1-1, you don't, unless a team's very superior and can accomplish their game plan 2 nights in a row. It's very, very common for a team to split a 2-game series,
Yeah, 100%. Well, that's it from us today, guys. On our next pod, we're about a quarter of the way through the season already. I think we're about 16. Some teams have played 17, 18 games. Excuse me. So on the next pod, we're going to go through both conferences' ladders and see what we think, if that's how it's going to look towards the end of the season, if we're expecting anyone to come up, some of the biggest surprises from the season and some of the biggest disappointments. We'll have a chat about all that. But thank you guys for tuning in again. Remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube page. Join our Facebook group and our Insta group. They'll be in the information below. Sergio, you got much packing still to do, my man?
A ton of packing still to do. But I hope everyone has a good weekend, and thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Stay safe. Serge, peace out, brother. Have a great day, man.